Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Taboo Tattoo, Episode 1. Okay, and it has been a good while since I last reviewed an anime. Okay, it's been a long time. Um, for the past few seasons, I haven't really seen anything that I wanted to review, which doesn't mean that there have been bad anime. Well, I mean, there have been some bad anime airing, but that doesn't mean there weren't any good anime airing. There were. It's just that a lot of the good anime that were airing they weren't the type that I would want to sit there and analyze. I just wanted to sit back and enjoy them. Like ReZero. ReZero is like the best anime airing right now. It's just great every single week, but I don't feel like analyzing it. I just want to sit back and relax and enjoy it. Now if I did want to analyze something, I'd say that we're probably gonna uh, well, let me not even get into it. Well, you know, since after what happened at the end of the episode, let's just say we're going to be moving back in time relatively soon. I'm just going to say that. But this review is about Taboo Tattoo. All right, and I enjoyed this so much. I really did. The opening and the ending got me super excited because I love anime that have a large cast and just a wide variety of characters, and all of them are important. But cause when I was looking at the opening and I was watching it, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just charisma or something. But a lot of these characters come off just having this air of importance to them. Like they're more than just fodder, and they're just going to be like the villains and rivals and allies, and you just I love it when a large cast is done well, and the opening and the ending both made me think that there are going to be characters like the blonde girl, and the girl who has hair like Rin from Fate Stay Night, and the girl with the sword, like just all these character guy who had like black shadows around his hand, like there's like there's so many great characters, it looks like, that are going to be in this show. So it just has me hyped up from the very beginning. All right, and I wasn't sure if it would live up to the hype either, because I mean, I don't mean hype as in other people hyping it, because I didn't really pay attention to that. Just like the hype of the opening, because I've seen anime before that had really good openings and they just never lived up to it. Like Senran Kagura, for example, where the opening for that anime is really freaking good. It's so great. And I was watching the anime the entire time thinking, like, when are we going to get fight scenes like that were like the ones that were in the opening? When are we going to get that? When are we going to get that? And then every time it looked like we were about to get it, it would only be like a 2-minute fight, and then it would be over for the rest of the episode. I'm like, and I kept watching it. Eventually, it was episode 12, and it's ending. I'm like, we never actually got a good fight that lasted more than a couple minutes. So it's just completely disappointing in the end. It just doesn't live up to the hype that you yourself set. So I was a bit worried about that going in after watching the opening, but I've got to say that it didn't betray me. I'm still just as hyped as I was in the beginning of the episode when I first saw the opening. I'm still just as hyped after finishing the episode, and a couple days have gone by and I'm still just as hyped. So I figured, you know what? This has the potential to be a show like Parasite, where I enjoy watching it, but I also enjoy theorizing about it, and I enjoy just reviewing it and analyzing it. So yeah, that's why I decided to review it. I might go and review Orange too. I might actually go and review that anime, because that's looking pretty good too. It really does. So it's looking pretty good. So it's a shoujo too, but I read the description of it and I thought, you know what? Even though it's a shoujo, I have a feeling this is going to be really good. So I started watching it, and sure enough, it was great. But anyway, Taboo Tattoo. Okay, Taboo Tattoo. All right. The beginning of this episode starts with two scenes, okay? The first one is Izzy, the lieutenant. All right, she is attacking this guy who somehow got his hands on one of the tattoos. All right, and it looked like she just destroyed it. It didn't look like she retrieved it in any way. She just destroyed it on his hand. Okay, and the second one is Seigi, and it looks like he's protecting a homeless man of some sort from these two guys who were probably trying to take the tattoo from him. I'm just assuming that it could have just been a coincidence that this guy that just so happened to have a tattoo on him was getting attacked by these two guys. It could be a coincidence, but I doubt it. They probably knew exactly who he was and what he had, and they were after it. Okay. But this guy ends up giving Seiki his last tattoo, which means that he had more of them at some point. So I don't know. Maybe I doubt that he was the one who stole them from the U.S. He probably got them from a supplier, some sort like the Yakuza or something like that. The point is, they were stolen from the U.S. and he somehow, through a bunch of different channels, he ended up getting some. All right, and he tells Seigi that the tattoo he's giving him is going to be the key that will lead him to the truth of the world. Okay, which, you know, that's that's pretty big. Like, I don't want to overanalyze, because that's what I did sometimes with Parasite, and I ended up like, yeah, I ended up just creating this hype that the anime couldn't live up to in the end, because I thought of all these theories and this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. Then like two of them happened out of like five, you know. So I don't want to overanalyze here, but when a guy gives you something and says that it's going to be the key that leads you to the truth of the world, it makes you think that this is more than just a secret weapon that the U.S. doesn't want out there. This is some type of global, this is going to lead to some discovery of how the world works in general, or at least the underworld of the world, because we hear Seiki say that, you know, he ends up setting foot in the underworld after this, right? So I'm interested in seeing how the scale of the story shifts, because right now it's kind of just dealing with Japan, but we already heard about the kingdom of Salinistan. Okay, well, actually, let me get before we hear about that, we see Seiki run into Izzy and she attacks him unconsciously. Um, but there were sparks that there were literally sparks that flew, um, because they both had tattoos and they touched each other, and it's, oh, okay. So she figured out that he has a tattoo and she decided to mark him and tail him. Um, so after that, that's when he gets to class. That's when we start hearing about the kingdom of Salinistan. And first of all, let me just say this, okay? As a writer myself, I can tell you that you do not create your own countries in a real world setting and name drop them like that unless they're going to be incredibly important or relevant at some point in time. Okay, so this Salinistan, it's probably like the headquarters for the villains of the story or something like that. Okay, they're getting built up as this incredible economic power in the world, second highest GDP. We're told that their relations with the U.S. aren't great, and the U.S. are the ones who created these tattoos. We're told that the U.S. created the tattoos in part to deal with Salinistan. So I guarantee you the villains are coming from this country. I guarantee it. It's just how it's gotta be. The teacher at one point even questioned what would happen if war broke out between the two, and whose side Japan would have to take. So I'm telling you, the villains are there. The villains are in Salinistan. Probably that sword-wielding girl, because in the opening she was fighting Seigi at one point. Though she may be the type of villain that ends up turning into a good guy in the end. Like, if anyone's seen Strike the Blood, Astarte, she starts out as a villain, but then joins the good guy side, and she becomes good and everything. So I think she might be like that, because she is fighting Seigi in the opening, it looked like, or fighting someone at least. It looked like Seigi, fighting him in the opening, but then in the ending, she's included among all these other girls that look like they would and she's smiling like she's a good guy, you know. The Rin girl, she had like this smile where like she could still be a villain, but her, it looked like she had turned good. So I don't know. I'm just speculating here that she's probably one of the villains, or at least will be at some point. But anyway, the point is Salinistan. They're incredibly relevant, and they're probably where the villains come from. Okay, and they're probably the ones who hired somebody to steal the tattoos from the U.S. and then distributed them through the Yakuza and, you know, like, you know, all this stuff. They're probably responsible for like all of that. Okay, so I mean, I would too. Like, if I knew that the U.S. created these weapons to deal with me, I'd probably want to do something about it too. You know, so I can't really blame them in that regard. But anyway, luckily for us, Seigi's military otaku friend conveniently knows everything about these tattoos, and he fans the flames here First of all, how come every military otaku has the same character design? The second I saw this guy, I thought I was watching High School of the Dead for a second. Like, really? Like, all these guys have the same design. It's crazy. But anyway, although he isn't as big, but anyway, it doesn't matter. He ends up telling us that the tattoos were created by the U.S. to be used against someone to stand, like I said before. Um, so he fans the flames of this U.S. Songhanistan war that's going to be happening at some point, probably. Um, and as I mentioned earlier, Izzy marked and decided to follow. I say marked, I mean like mentally, not physically. Um, Not like Kiba and Akamaru and Naruto, like dynamic marking. No, no, that would be that's hentai, not anime. Well, I mean, hentai is never mind, never mind. Okay, the point is he comes back and starts following Seigi. Then she steals his phone in order to lure him into a secluded area. And this was a really cool part of the episode because this is the fight scenes. You already knew the fight scenes were going to be good from when from the first two scenes of the anime before the opening played. You know, is he dealing with the guy who had the tattoo, and Seigi protecting the guy who gave him his tattoo. Okay, you could already tell the animation was going to be really good for these fight scenes, but this just demonstrated it perfectly. Okay, she she does eventually fight him, but first she tries to question and figure out what he knows, how he got his hands on the tattoo, and she ends up pretty much spilling the beans about these tattoos being a top secret American creation. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure a real American would just kill him without revealing any information to them, you know? Like, they have something of yours, and you're not just going to start revealing information. I mean, unless your name is Hillary Clinton, then you'd reveal information to him. But that's a story for another day, okay? She starts revealing all this information, to which Tom criticized her for, by the way, later. He criticizes her for that. But anyway, she tells him a little bit too much information, and then the two of them start fighting. And it looked like, say, because she's obviously trained, you know, U.S. Army. You know, she's trained, and he's not. He just learns martial arts from his grandfather. So she's obviously better than he is, but he did hold his own for a little bit there. She was impressed, and so was I. But she threw his phone at his head in order to get the, like, at least you know he's good enough to make her do that. Like, if he wasn't that good, she wouldn't have needed to do something like that. She could have just brushed him aside and, like, pin him to the ground, and that would have been that. But she at least had to throw his phone at him in order to knock him off his guard and off balance and everything. And then she proceeded to completely dominate him afterwards. And at one point, she even had like this Beerus looking thing from Dragon Ball Z. You know, this Beerus looking thing appeared behind her. I don't know if that was just some type of symbolism, or if that really has something to do with tattoos. Because there was a point later at the end of the episode when Seigi's battling against Theodore Wilson, the teddy bear, or Bear Teddy. And he thinks he's about to die, and you can see like this like ghost appear behind Wilson's fist, and you know, like, I don't know if this was something like that where they're just doing it for like artistic reasons, or if this Beerus looking thing is actually a part of her tattoo and her ability or something, you know. But I don't know. I don't know, because because after she finishes fighting him and she stops and she starts talking with him again, she starts to she calls him a child and goes on to say that she's older than she looks. So I don't know, maybe she's freaking Biscuit from Hunter x Hunter, I don't know. But anyway, she goes on to explain that tattoos activate when they're charged with their user's unique trigger, and that hers is chalk. They are scientific weapons that enhance the physical abilities of the sealed, which is what they call people who have the tattoos. And through the enhancement of their physical abilities, they can bring forth supernatural phenomena, which scientific and supernatural tend to not go well together unless you're watching, you know, a certain magical index, you know, or a certain scientific railgun or something like that. You know, so unless they start explaining things the way index and railgun do, that I'm calling BS on that. But at the very least, it could explain why Beerus showed up behind her. But she didn't really get into too much detail. She just said the basics of how tattoos work. So I'm just going to leave that out up in the air for now. I don't know if that was really something important, or if it was just some type of artistic thing that they did for effect. I'm really not sure, but I'll just leave the option out there for it to be a legit part of the power system. All right, but anyway, um, she demonstrates for him. Of course, she activates her tattoo, and she creates an air bomb using high density atmospheric air. Okay, so we know what her power is, and I mean, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if Beerus has anything to do. I'm gonna keep calling it Beerus, but I still have no idea if that has anything to do with it. But like I said, I'll just leave it there. And if we get some information later, I'll go back to this and say, hey, I was right. And if I'm not right, then hey, I pretty much said I have no idea, so I'm not really wrong either. So I'm pretty much guaranteeing I'm right either way. So that's great. But anyway, the next day we see her talking with Tom. Like I said before, he criticized her for revealing too much classified information to a stranger, so she is pretty much Hillary Clinton, except she's cooler, obviously. And she's a trained member of the U.S. Army, and she's got superpowers. All right, but Tom also criticized her for not bringing him in. You know, he admitted his situation is a bit unique, but still, you know, you shouldn't have brought him in. Question him more and everything like that. They confirm that their mission is in fact to retrieve the tattoos as well. But Izzy eventually apologizes to him and she for not doing her job pretty much, and she opens up a locket and looks at it. And Tom's reaction was like, "Oh wow," you know, like his reaction was such where like he knew what she was thinking and he felt bad. And she just says, you know, could you just leave him to me? And so clearly Seigi reminds her of someone important to her. And I don't know if that person is dead or, you know, maybe they lost control of their tattoo or something and died, or maybe that person is actually alive and became one of the villains, or I don't know what, but clearly Seigi reminds her of someone from her past. Okay, so I'm sure we'll get more information. That's the main reason why she's going easy on him and training him. And she, at the preview at the end of the episode, we hear her invite him to join her and Tom and everyone trying to fight against Selenistan. I'm just assuming, you know, that they're the villains, but I mean, come on, they're the villains. Let's be honest here. All right, but yeah. Clearly, the person in that locket is important to her, and Seigi reminds her of that person, whether it's a guy or a girl. He reminds her of them. All right. Now, later she starts tailing Seigi and Toko after school, and at least I'm assuming it's after school. And she's really bad at tailing people, like really, really bad. And eventually, Toko gets tired of it and just storms off, and Seigi just approaches her. And eventually, while they're talking, Tom shows up and he's getting beaten up by a SEAL, the Theodore Wilson guy. And Seigi takes him down at first. All right. And we've seen a couple times in the episode, actually, leading up to this point. But Seigi has this complex. He's really self-conscious of his own strength and whether or not he views himself as someone who is strong or someone who is weak. And we hear from his grandfather that his father died trying to protect, at least I'm assuming he died trying to protect people. And because of that, his grandfather wants to train him to be stronger than his father so that he doesn't die when he's trying to help people. And he always considered himself to be strong, but Izzy comes along trained and stronger than him and doing everything that he can do, and he starts to question whether or not he's actually strong or weak or not. And at first he takes out Teddy pretty easily, so he's thinking, oh, maybe am I strong? Am I really? He doesn't really know what he is. But eventually Teddy Bear over here stands back up and he activates his ability because like I said, he's a SEAL. He has a tattoo as well, and his ability gives him superhuman strength. All right, Izzy at first was going to deal with it, but Seigi stops her and says, "No, this is my fight. This is something I have to do." And a part of me understands, because as a man, sometimes there are just things that you have to do. You know, sometimes there are just things you have to do. And when you start something, you've got to finish it. You can't let people come in and do it for you. You can't. You don't want to accept help from people. You just want to do it yourself, and you just feel like sometimes there are just things that you just got to do, you know. So I can understand where it's coming from in this instance, okay. But At the same time, only a sealed can beat a sealed, because when you activate your tattoo, all your base stats go up and you gain your superpower. So only a sealed can beat a sealed. He tries to do it with just taking advantage of how open the guy was with his punches, and he tries to just attack him, but it just doesn't do anything. All right, so he gets caught and he gets destroyed pretty much. He's bleeding all over the place, and he just sticks his hand up, and his tattoo absorbs the blood that's on his palm and activates this like black hole Rasengan looking thing. Uh, Izzy called it the Void Maker. And by using this Void Maker black hole Rasengan thing, he beats Theodore Wilson. Okay. Now, like I said, it looked like his trigger was blood, because the blood literally got sucked into the tattoo. But Izzy says it's a triggerless tattoo. So I'm curious to see how he's going to activate it in the future. Um, maybe I don't know. We need more information. We'll learn information about the Void Maker and the triggerless tattoo as Seiki himself is learning about it. But that's another thing. Izzy said that they hadn't been successful in finding a match for the triggerless tattoo. So I guess that means you can't just randomly give whoever you want a tattoo. It has to accept you, I guess, or you have to be, you have to have some type of chemistry with it. Like you have to be a match for it. You have to be a match. So I don't know if it's that way for all tattoos, or if there are just some specialty tattoos like the triggerless tattoo where only they require a match because they're stronger in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. Again, this is information we'll learn throughout the series, but I just figured it was important to mention that there are some, at least some, maybe even all tattoos that require you to be a perfect match in order for you to actually be able to use the tattoo. Or maybe it would reject you, and who knows what would happen if it rejects you. Who knows? So that's that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. The fight scenes were great, animation was great. The episode focused mainly on Izzy and Seigi. Toko was there, the grandfather was there, Tom was there, his friends, we didn't even get names for them. Okay, we saw a bunch of people in the opening and the ending. We saw this is the guy in the beginning who gave Seiki the tattoo, and there's a level of intrigue that automatically comes with the story and the way they're telling it in this first episode. So I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to learning more about the tattoo system and Void Maker and this thing about finding matches and the Beerus looking thing that showed up behind Izzy. I'm interested in learning more about the power system and how everything works. I'm invested in the characters, including the characters that haven't even shown up yet in the anime, just in the opening and ending. Plus, I'm interested in figuring out more about his family, because we know his father died, but we don't know the exact situation that led to his death. We don't know that. I want to know specific circumstances and what exactly happened here. Plus, his grandfather is training him in this dojo to be this martial arts master. This can't just be because I'm assuming it's his son. I'm assuming it's not. I'm assuming this isn't his grandfather on his mother's side. I'm assuming it's his grandfather on his father's side. But I'm assuming he's not just teaching Seigi martial arts for the heck of it. I'm sure he doesn't want his grandson to follow the same path that his son followed. That ended up killing. I'm interested in hearing more about why the grandfather is choosing to teach Seigi this martial arts, knowing full well how he's going to use it. Though maybe Seigi was the type of person where the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and he was like his father and wanted to help people anyway, so he figured, well, if he's going to be helping people anyway, I might as well make sure he doesn't die when he's doing it. Maybe that was his motivation. So I want to hear more about his grandfather. I want to hear more about his mother, because all we know about her is that she asked Toko to look after him. So I don't know, is his mother in the country? Is his mother alive, dead, in the country, out of the country, living at home, working for some secret organization. You know, uh, his full name is part of his name is Akatsuka Justice. You know, and Seigi mentioned that his parents named him that because he was their first child, and so does that mean he has siblings as well? And are they going to come in the story at some point? So there's all this stuff going on, and I'm just incredibly interested in everything going on. So I really love this first episode. I'm really hyped to continue the season on this. And I'll give this episode of Taboo Tattoo a 9 out of 10. Because like I said, I thought it was great. Whether it be building up all these side storylines, building up characters, getting me invested in them, the animation, the fight scenes, the power system, I'm interested in it all, and I thought it was great. So I'll give this first episode of Taboo Tattoo a 9 out of 10. And that is that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at BlacklistOTA, and I will see you guys next time.